Okay, well I'm going to go ahead and solder up one of these boards that I designed. This is an LED controller. This is version 1 of my board. It's very simple. Basically has spots for 3 N-channel MOSFETs, and has ground and 12 volt up here on the left, which ground are wired together and 12 volts wired together. That way I can easily daisy chain these things one after the other, so I can have a multi-channel controller. And then the second set of the second connector here, that's the output for the 12 volt RGB, and then on the right is the input for the RGB logic level input on that. So this board is from OSH Park, or Osh Park, however you pronounce it, and it's one of the places where you can submit your order and then they put it on a larger order with other people's orders as well, and you have to order in quantities of 3. So I got 6 of these boards. I've soldered 2, and now I'm going to do this third one. With the other 2 I didn't use the helping hands because I thought they might just get in the way, but I'm going to try them this time and see how it goes. So I am using my new Hakko soldering station, and this one, this was recommended by the wonderful EEV blog, which I'll link below, and so far it's really nice. It heats up basically instantly, and it's nice, heavy duty, so the things aren't going to move around while you're working with them. And what's nice about this is also the wire is really flexible, so I wouldn't worry about it sort of crimping or guiding, I guess, guiding your soldering iron where you don't want it. Before I saw the light, I was using this cheap Radio Shack soldering iron that I've had for years, and thick solder like that. This is let's see, 6040. I don't think it says how thick it is. It's probably, I don't know, a millimeter, somewhere around there. It's much thicker than what I have now, which is this. This is a 6337.031 inch diameter solder. And then also from the EEV blog recommended, I have these little snippers. I don't remember what they're exactly called. Doesn't matter. They're cool, and they work well, and they came with a soldering iron, a soldering station. So for the parts for this, I have the 3 N-channel MOSFETs here that will go in. I have a 3-pin connector for screw terminal connector for the RGB in, and then I don't have any 4 pins, but I have 4 2-pin connectors, and these are pretty cool. They have little slots, little grooves on the side, so they actually slide together, so you can make a 4-pin from 2 2-pins, etc. You can make any size you need. So there's one 4-pin that I'll need, and there's the other, and it's just seamless. It's nice how they designed that. Okay, so I'm going to start with the 4-pin, ground and 12 volt in, and these fit really nicely into the board. I mean, honestly, if I didn't solder it, the connections would be fine, obviously, until you get some movement, but even pulling that back out is going to be difficult. It's a nice tight fit. So I'm new to soldering. I'm not exactly sure what temperature is best for this type of work. So I'm kind of just going with the flow here. I'm at 700. That's what I was using for the other ones, and it seemed to work okay. So let's see how that works this time around. Alright, so I switched to macro mode there. Maybe you'll get a better view. Leaves me with little room to play with, but I'd be interested in hearing tips on my soldering techniques. I think the idea is just to get the pad and the pin both hit with the soldering iron and let them heat up, and then hit the solder on the opposite side of the pin. And I think it's working. Okay, it's taking a little bit longer to heat up than I expect. There it goes. Okay, so there's one 4-pin. I'm going to try to get this in here without taking the board out and without burning myself. There we go. Because I'm pretty sure that these components are still warm. There it goes. That's a nice one. Thinking I might need to get some solder on the tip itself to help with the conduct the heat, perhaps. See if that makes a difference. Seems to work pretty well. In hindsight, I should have just put all 3 of these in at the same time, since there's no real threat to them falling out. They're pretty tight. Oop, that one fell through a little bit. Let me hold it in place while this solder joint cools. Okay, there it goes. Yeah, this seems to be working pretty well. Okay, so there are the pins. The connectors, I mean. Next, MOSFETs. Alright, so these go in this way. And I'm just going to bend a couple of the pins just a little bit, keep them somewhat in place. It's difficult to do this underneath the camera. Oops, put one in backwards because I can't really see what I'm doing. There we go. And bend these just a little bit. Probably get away with just bending the one. I think that'll do it. It's back in here. I really like the quality of the PCB itself. For as cheap as they were, they seem to be really high quality, and I don't really know what I'm talking about, but just from looking at them, they are nice and crisp. The silk screening is nice. and bright, and it's not, it's actual silkscreen, I believe. I don't think it's printed on a printer. I think it's actually silkscreen, so it looks nice and crisp. I'll just run through these. Ooh. Trying to get good contact. There we go. Probably would have been smart to point the pins outward so that I don't have any likelihood of hitting the connector solder joints that I just did. Okay, that's that. Try to pull this out again. It's going to be a little warm. I do not want to touch the MOSFETs. That I know. So there are, that's what it looks like. That's how it came out. I think it, for the most part, looks good. Nice fillets, as they call them, on the pins there. And I'm pretty sure, I mean, they all look nice and shiny. I think did a pretty nice job. I'm gonna go ahead and start to clip off, snip these ends off. I don't want to snip them too short, but just get them out of the way. It's great. These snips work really well. So there we go. There's another controller, and those MOSFETs are still warm, so they really hold the heat. That's very nice. Okay, that worked pretty well. You can actually see this one, this third one here is not quite flat on the board. I could try to resolder that. That might be interesting. I hadn't done that before. Okay, so I have this 2mm solder wick here, which I've never used solder wick, obviously, since I'm kind of new to all this, so I've watched some videos on how it's done, so let's just see what happens. I guess I just touch it to the component, put it between the two, and wow, it's actually pretty cool. It just sucks the solder right off. Wow, it's impressive. It's really neat. Let's see. I wonder if that's enough to remove the component. So I was trying to desolder this third connector on the right here using this fancy solder wick, which is still pretty cool stuff in my opinion. It's not quite coming free from the board, so I'm thinking just try again. Maybe I missed some. See if I can get any more solder out of there. Doesn't seem to be getting much. There's a little bit coming off of the square pad. SpongeBob square pad. Okay, I got a little bit more off of this second one. Okay, so now I just want to try to squeeze it up. Yeah. Seems a little better. do have a spring clamp here I can probably use. It's way too big. I don't know what this is going to do. Just doesn't really seem to want to stay in place. So let me try to spring clamp it in place a little bit. And this board is looking pretty disgusting now. Been kind of torturing it, but it's a learning process, so it's cool. Okay. And I think they have cooled enough. Yeah, I did a number on the board. These spring clamps I use, it's a pretty silly idea. They are very large, so that was probably not a great idea. But it's fine. These are just prototypes. So here we go. Yeah, that looks much better. It's actually flush with the board now, except you can see it really, I'm not sure what even happened there. It's just got, I think it's got a bunch of residue on it from the flux and the solder. So actually it can probably just be cleaned off, but I'm not that worried about it. Okay, so those came out pretty good. My skills are improving, and that's it for now. See ya!